This old guy DIY video has to do with my technique to rebuild a travel trailer that kind of fell apart the last time I used it. So I was helping a buddy move, and this steel bar that goes across the back here just rotted out. So you can see how it fell away from the floor. In the course of the move, I stuck a 2x4 in there so we could make it home. And with everything shaken loose, these bolts broke off. The doors would not attach to each other. So my plan today is to remove this section of floor, and then here on the side we have some torque screws I have to take out to get this aluminum trim piece out. But basically I'm going to strip this thing down so I can get access to this back area where that steel rusted out, and I have a piece of aluminum channel that's 8 feet long. I believe I can put it in its place. So that's the great plan. Now I'll get to work. The hardware was shot on this back trim piece, so I just took the grinder and I cut all the screws off here. And then I couldn't get this piece of wood out because it's tucked under the sides. So since I'm going to replace it anyway, I just took the saw, cut right down the middle. Now I'll just take this pry bar and bring it out in 2 pieces. With that piece of wood removed, I can see the root cause of my failure. You can see the steel channel over here just rotted away. And then the corner fell out. It's the same thing on the other side. This other side is the same situation. A little mouse stuck his head out there when I pulled the board up, so he'll be unhappy when I fix this. Time to go to work. This corner is completely rotted out. And if I come over here, I'll have to cut this one apart. Nothing is ever as easy as it might be, so after some grinding and cutting and prying, we're to this point. I almost have the corner apart. And I'll just cut the wire here so I can pull it through this frame member and leave the wire going up to the light. This is what it looks like with my robust structural corner laying on the ground. I'm making some progress today. So when this adventure started, I was looking at it, looking at this little thin steel. I thought about welding. I thought that stuff is so thin I can't weld it anyway. And it's going to cost a lot to get this thing repaired if I took it to somebody's shop. So then I asked myself, what would the Amish do? So I went and got some pieces of hardwood, and I cut the hardwood to be just under 3 inches tall and 2 inches wide, which is what the inside of that channel was. And I cut these pieces to 4 feet long, and then I beat them in there with a mallet. I put one on each side, and then after I had them beaten in there, I put a structural screw on each side to hold it, so when I'm working here on the back part, it wouldn't move on me. And then I doubled up the pieces across the back here. I have that. And now I'm working on this thing. I just cut the ends off of it so I can set this steel bar over the top of this structure and have this latch back in place. So I'll put this in, and I'll see if I can set the floor in there. And based on what I see initially, everything looks good. I'm using those structural screws coming in from the end, and then I came through the side into that piece of wood that I had put in, and I put 3 of those in just to pull everything back together because it had kind of wobbled loose. So we're making some progress. As I said, oftentimes I ask myself, what would the Amish do? And oftentimes hardwood is the answer. I'll keep you posted. So my goal here was not to get into rebuilt trailer monthly, but I put this steel piece back across the back and I lined it up so the doors will close. Right now I'll close the doors and show you. Now the key when I was putting that steel piece on the bottom was to position it left to right so it would grab here. And then after I did that, I put these structural screws in through that into the hardwood. So we have that covered. And when we look up here on top, we can see by the witness mark that it's lower than it was before, but it seals up and it's going to work. So I'm going to keep on going, put the floor in. I'm back today to finish this job. I used the rain as an excuse to stop last night. Once it started raining, I ran away rather than pulling this thing in the garage. So when I cut this board yesterday, I thought the board was rotted. I was going to have to replace it. But after looking at it, the board is just fine. So I came in here and drilled a new series of holes and then put screws down into that metal cross member. And I also pulled down the board that was ahead of it. So right now everything is good and stable. I'm going to take this piece of 1/2-inch marine plywood and lay it on top, so I have one more level of reinforcement going from the back of the trailer here up about 4 feet. And then I think I'll be good for another 10 years. So I use that Amish technique with hardwood runners on the back and across the end here. Then I put this piece of steel back over the top of it, held it in with structural construction screws, and it looks like it's all pulling together nicely. It's all buttoned up. Down here in the bottom corners, I just took a couple of sheet metal screws and screwed that metal back into the new piece of wood that I put in there. I'll go get some black spray paint and cover that up. So nothing special. At least we have everything down where it's supposed to be. Door latch works as it should. I came in here, replaced these little bolts. Now I have nuts and lock washers on the back. So if somebody does get a hold on this thing, all that's going to happen on the inside is that it spins. Overall, I'm pleased with my Amish engineering job. Structurally, it's sound again, ready to get back in action. Thank you for watching.